Hey guys, this is part 2 of me working with one of the most dangerous horses I've ever worked with. If you haven't seen part 1, go watch that video. Otherwise, let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. And I'm here with Joseph, and we're down here in Virginia at his farm. And so could you just tell us a little bit about why you brought me out here today?
So I have this Mustang Pharaoh. She was the first Mustang that I've ever trained. She showed a disposition for aggression right off of the bat. My daughter looked in the trailer when we were taking her home, and she had a double barrel kick the walls. And when she loaded into the trailer, she loaded so fast that she busted open her nose. So I thought that once we got her into the round pen and let her settle in a little bit, that things would lighten up, and they didn't. They got worse. I wasn't sure if this was something that I was doing that was from my training. I wasn't sure if this was a disposition that she had. So I tried all the tools that I had in my toolbox, and I figured that I needed to get another set of eyes on her. We met at Road to the Horse, and filled Ryan in on the story of what's going on with our horse, and said offered to come take a look. And I said I'd appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize this about Mustangs, but Mustangs, in my opinion, can have a stronger, horses have a flight or fight instinct, and I think Mustangs understand fight instinct more than other horses. And based on some of the video clips you sent me, she seems to understand that quite well. And basically when she gets at a really elevated state, it looks like she attacks you.
Correct.
And decides to take you or the tool out in order to get relief.
Correct. Yeah, she's attacked me several times. I was able to know that it was coming just by the tension in her body. I would try to give her releases, and sometimes she would attack on the release. Sometimes she would attack on the pressure. So it became really unpredictable to know with this loaded gun what I was dealing with. It became, my wife asked me hey, you need to make a move on this horse, or I don't really want you to work with it anymore.
I actually think there's one video you sent me. You had hay in your hand, standing outside the fence. Correct. And she came up to that hay kind of fast, and then she kind of charged at you.
Right. Yeah. I was trying to just make a connection with her. And
part of why I brought that up is I think a lot of people would think, well, if you just gave her more time and cookies, she would be magically trained. And when she is this uncomfortable with people being around her, I would still describe it as being uncomfortable, being defensive, but it leads to her attacking and acting aggressive. It's not really aggressive. It's more, I would call it more attacking, because she's fighting back when she feels pressure. But even just the presence of food, what are you hoping to take away from my time here?
I would like to see if your professional opinion is that this is something innate, is that she's just one of the tougher ones, and me to be released of the feelings that this is something that I might have done in an error in training, and if not, to push me down point me down the right path.
Hey everybody, it's day 2, so we're going to be working with Pharaoh again, and hoping to finally get my hands on her and hopefully make contact. My big question that I want to see today is, did anything we did yesterday stick and carry over for today? That's going to be the main thing I'm looking for, and we'll go from there. So I already kind of like where we're starting here. Well, she's heading over to her spot. Oh. And she kind of had me in her right eye, which was a bit of a tricky spot from yesterday. So before I start moving towards her at all, we'll just kind of give her a chance to get comfortable, because I'd really like to start rubbing her with the sticks, but I can kind of only do that when she's ready to accept that. So if she wants to move her feet, we're going to allow that, and I'm just going to follow her. We're just going to build on those patterns we got established yesterday. Because for this horse in particular, she tends to, if she gets uncomfortable, she gets stuck to the point where she feels like she can't go anywhere, and then when she feels like she has nowhere to go, that's when she comes at the person. And so I really want her to know that it's okay for her to leave if she gets troubled. That's a pretty important thing for this horse in particular to understand. So I kind of like that. That got a little bit easier today to get to this right eye. So that's a win. And then you can see right away she puts me back in the left eye. But I feel like I'm already starting closer to her. She's like allowing me in a little closer than she did yesterday. Again, we're back in the right eye here. We'll take that. So you guys may have noticed a slight movement abnormality in her right hind, and basically that comes from a hamstring injury called myositis ossification. I might have mispronounced that, but I'll write it here for you guys. And so basically what happens is there's some scar tissue there, and then it gets some calcification build up on it, and it's a shorter range of motion. And so she's been checked out by a professional. There's usually not pain associated with this, and movement is good for them. So that's what you guys are kind of seeing in her movement there. And she's like, I don't know if the camera can hear it, but she's like snorting a little bit, but she feels like just a little less introverted today, which I think is good. If she can kind of come out of her shell and show me how she feels before she gets too troubled again, where she's got to do something really, really serious. You know, in a perfect world, she will touch the stick instead of me touching her with it. So I kind of like that. Like, we're already making contact. That's already more contact than we had yesterday. Now there she gave me a kind of a lick and chew and kind of let down a little bit, so I'll retreat there. And then I think usually this stick and string is a little bit easier to rub them with. I can be a little more accurate with it. So I think I'll see where she kind of lets me get with this. But obviously I got to be pretty close to her if I'm going to get a hold of the halter. And so that's where I'm kind of putting myself in a more vulnerable position. When I'm out here at a distance and I have the stick up, you know, if she were to kind of come at me, I'd be able to block her a lot easier and make it less of a deal, less risk for me than if I'm up really close to her. Now, as you guys know, if you've watched any of my other videos of working with Mustangs, I like to get as far as I can with them at liberty, but sometimes you're better off building a connection with having a rope on them. And so I'm just kind of getting to know her and feeling her out, but I'm starting to think about putting a rope on her might just help her make some better decisions. I didn't want to go to that right away yesterday, even though she already knows how to follow a feel, because I wanted to create this scenario that I have today where she's leaving if she feels a little bit bothered. If you put a rope on them too soon and she feels troubled, then it's like all she's left with is coming at me. So letting her know she has an escape route and that she can drift away if she needs to is pretty important. So I like that. We got a little bit of curiosity with the stick. So this is a little less about what I'm doing with her. This might be a hard thing to understand, but it's a little less about what I'm doing with her with the sticks and this kind of thing. It's more about building a conversation with her where she's understanding that I'm not going to push through her thresholds to a point where she's going to feel really troubled. I'm going to respect those. And so when she gets really bothered, I don't keep going. I stop and I hold and I wait for her to soften, and then I release. And so we're just kind of building in a little bit of a conversation between her and I. And so I'm just happen to be using the, using these as little projects to give ourselves to kind of work towards building a bit of a language. Now, like you can see there, she kind of came into me pretty strong, but I just had my stick up there and blocked her. So right there was a little moment where I had to put my stick up and stop her, because as she came into me, that could have been one of those moments that she charges. And that's why it's such a delicate balance. So even though I'm keeping her on this side of trouble, it's right there under the surface at any minute. All right, I kind of like where that's going, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and put a rope on her. Now, in a perfect world, this would just find its way to laying over her head and neck really nice and softly and not get her too troubled. Just kind of see how she handles me swinging it here. Have you roped her before? Yeah. So I kind of like that she's not freaking out just because I brought the rope in here. It's good. So what I'm tempted to do is toss it on her, but the tossing is really slow and it's very easy for them to move their head and neck away from you. And so you go from being really quiet to scaring them, moving on. So I think I might get her moving around here just a little bit and try to put it on her while she's already in motion. But it's so tempting to try the toss because that can be nice and quiet. There we go. So now I'm just going to let her settle. And I'm going to keep this stick in my hand. I normally wouldn't do that, but just because she has a propensity for coming at you. Like to have a little bit of a defense system built in here. And for me, that was about as smooth as I could set that up with her. Because again, if she was just standing still and I tossed it on, it may or may not have landed, but it would have scared her because we went from doing nothing to doing something, where by having her moving around already, I think that created a pretty good opportunity. That's good. Close enough. So I want to do a little bit of work with the rope on her here, but I just want to know that I can have a little bit of a conversation with this rope about controlling her feet. So like there, especially if we can get little hindquarter yields, that can kind of help diffuse them. But again, because she has a propensity for coming at people, I'm gonna work angles more to the side than I'm gonna work on her just following me, where normally the goal would be for her to follow me around. But I'm not quite ready to trust her to follow me. Maybe I would at a distance, but not. There we go. It's like, she's so bad you want to like touch them and get your hands on them, but I want to set it up. And essentially I want to do a few harder things with the rope on her to kind of release her to me touching her. But you can see she kind of already knows how to follow a feel with that pressure. That's close enough. So again, she's more defensive on that right side, so I'm going to keep just working my way to that side. It's not like, I'm not going to make like a big a big program about it. I'm just gonna be aware every time she outmaneuvers me, like right there, that's what I'm talking about, that little step over. And so instead of me continuing to try to pet her when she does that with the stick, I'm just gonna redirect her until I got both eyes there again. And I'd like to be primarily in this right eye, but again, I'm not gonna make a huge thing about it. I'm just gonna be aware of it and just kind of do little redirects here and there to just kind of let her know that I'm aware that she's doing that. And again, what's tempting there is to pull her towards me, but I'm just gonna move the hindquarters in a way where she ends up putting me back in that right eye. Because what I think is important with this horse in particular is acceptance of everything as we go. Because she's a pretty intense horse, it would be very easy to do too much where she gets all the way up to panicked or threatened. And kind of off camera, I was talking to the owner, Joseph, about horses have different states of mind, and this comes from the book Evidence-Based Horsemanship. There's a nice letdown while I'm working this stick over her head. I really like that. But you can see, I feel like we're already further ahead than we were at Liberty, and so I'm thinking putting the rope on her was a good plan. But there's different mental states that a horse can be in, and so when a horse is like grazing or sleeping or you know, you're sitting on them, even riding, but they're just kind of hanging out, they're what we call automatic in behavior. And then the next level up from automatic in behavior is curious. And that's where we love horses to be at because their ears are forward. They look happy is what it kind of looks like when the horse is curious. Like right there, she's kind of looking with a little bit of curiosity. So we like that thought. The next level up is concerned. And so that's where she's been at for a lot of the time. And that's where a lot of horses are at when you're training them. And whenever a horse licks and chews, you know that they were previously concerned. And that's why when they lick and chew, a real accurate way to describe what happened there is they just got more comfortable. So hopefully they got more comfortable doing something you wanted them to be doing versus you got bucked off and then they got more comfortable. Or, you know, pulled the rope out of your hands and ran to the other side of the pen and then got comfortable. We would not prefer that as much. So the next level up from concerned is hyper alert. And that's where they're really kind of deciding if they need to flight or fight from fear. And so that's a pretty intense mindset. And usually if you're sitting on a horse and they go to that mindset, you want to talk them out of it right pretty quickly. That's not a very comfortable place to be at with a horse. And then if the wreck is in the process of happening or is already happened, is where the horse got panicked and then threatened. And so she was getting to the point where she was feeling threatened, and that's where she would attack. Even though Joseph was not doing anything, you know, was hardly doing anything at all, she would trigger that because she was at just such an intense state to begin with. And that's what made her dangerous to work with and pretty challenging horse. And so panicked is where the horse needs to like run away from something. You know, they rear up or they run away. Threatened is where they'll come at you. They'll start kicking or biting or striking. And so that's a pretty elevated mental state. So you can see she really doesn't like things on that right side. The other thing that makes this horse in particular a little bit tricky is she can have she's mostly can be kind of right-brained about her responses to things, but she can get left-brained about it too. And when it's left-brained, it can be a little bit more of an aggression type thing versus defensiveness. And so it's like a little bit more of a conscious choice than just being as simple as she was just a bit afraid. So here I'm going to try to just walk a circle around her, but I'm going to be aware to kind of block her nose just a little bit. And you can see I'm having a little trouble with getting to that right eye. So we'll just fiddle around with this here just a little bit. I don't really want her coming towards me. So you see right away, I don't feel like she's able to handle the pressure of me moving her feet too much, and so without losing a lot of rapport along the way. So I'm gonna see if I can find kind of a workaround here, literally and figuratively. And I'm just looking for a little bit of progress. So you can see there's kind of a line that I get to that she decides she has to leave. But if she'll just make a little right there, she just kind of let me push on that line a little bit with my feet without leaving. And I don't feel totally comfortable putting my stick down. I kind of feel like I have to have that stick up in the air, just in case. But you can see there's a line kind of about right there. And so if she'll just let me be on that line without moving, and I'll try to take the stick away. Good. There, you see her, she didn't move her feet, but you can see she turned her head to put me back in the left eye. But we got a little lick and chew there. Ooh, I like this. This is good. She kind of let me be in that right eye a little bit. Ooh, I like that. So you see I'm a little bit further off center line here. And I'm trying to not point my belly button at her, but I'm trying to have my stick up and ready for my own self-defense. Ooh, I like almost. But you can see she'll kind of push through her own thresholds, and it's very comparable to, like, you take a horse and you ride up to a creek and you got to cross it, and the creek's only 2 inches wide and an inch deep. Some horses will just absolutely refuse to cross it and they won't cross it. Other horses are afraid of it, but they will leap across it by a mile. That's a horse that's pushing through its own thresholds. And so what I want to get her to do is to rate her own emotions a little bit more through training, where she can realize that I'm going to challenge that a little bit and ask her to get comfortable being a little bit uncomfortable, but that she doesn't need to push through her own threshold. So when she starts to do that, I'll try to interrupt her or redirect her in some way. And again, you see there we got another lick and chew. She let me take a couple more steps here. You know, and for now, I'll just be happy that she'll kind of allow me on this side here. I like that. She's licking and chewing while I'm rubbing her face with this. And so far, the face seems to be the only area that she'll accept me touching her. Then sometimes, because she's kind of used to the rope right here, sometimes that's a good spot to kind of build off of. Teaching her to lower her head would be a really helpful skill too. So like here, if I'm waving the stick above her head, if she'll lower her head, I'll take my stick away. And start to teach her that when she relaxes under a little bit of pressure, the pressure goes away. So you can see just presenting that stick on that right side, how hard that is for her. But I'm kind of putting her in this situation to test that emotional fitness. Like, could she just, like here, she's braced. So just watch here, read her body, look at where her ears are. There she switched to getting a little bit curious about it. So I'll take it away. So what I want her to start to learn is that if she can deal with that little bit of pressure, and if she can choose to get more comfortable, then it goes away. But I have to be very careful to not put her in a situation that's not achievable. You know, it'd be rarely, you could do something that's quite simple and it would be too much for this horse. And that's what could lead to kind of further escalation of things. But you can see, even if I just hold the stick on that side, that kind of gets her a bit bothered. So you can see now she's like handling that stick, kind of staying there by her neck a little bit more. But you can see kind of by just giving her little bite-sized pieces. Oh, we got a little rub on the neck on this side. We'll take that. And she got a little bothered. But you can see we're keeping her this side of going to that mental state of feeling threatened where she would need to come at me by just chipping away at these little things here. So because I'm only here a couple of days, I'd like Joseph to work with her a little bit. And and you can see she's already like closer to him, like there's a little more rapport and trust going on there. And so I want to coach him a little bit so that he's got other Mustangs he's going to be continuing to work with and see if we can keep making some progress from there. So yeah. Hey, if you guys are enjoying this video and you would like to see more Mustang content or other training videos, I have those on my Patreon page. We have a full series on Mustang taming. I have all my fundamentals on there, and I would love to be your coach. So I'll leave a link in the comments below. I hope to see you guys on there. Just kind of do a few of the things that I was doing with her and just kind of see where she's at, and then I'm gonna have you show me kind of some of the things that you were attempting to do with her. But did you see that yawn that she just had? Like that's a pretty nice little release, letdown that she just had. And that speaks to the trust that she does have in you there. So that's a really good sign to start us off. Like, could you pet her with your hand from right there? Oh, very nice. So if you want to, why don't you get to where you can put a lead rope on her? So whenever you're ready, just get to that step, because that'll be easier to deal with than the lariat rope. Does she feel kind of good to you right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, like she looks like she's in a fairly soft frame of mind. So one thing a lot of people may not understand is that with Mustangs, it's a very big deal getting them prepared for a second person to handle them. Like they can very much kind of build trust with one person to start with, and then a new person. So for me, I was new to her, but I think I kind of helped get her in a good frame of mind, but she obviously trusts you more. She knows you more. And so I think it'll be easier for you to continue building progress from that. But that can be true with other horses too, but Mustangs in particular, especially very sensitive ones, getting them comfortable with a second person is like a whole step in the process of, because the farrier's got to be able to come in and do their feet, the vet's got to be able to come in and work on them. And so it's a whole thing to just get them comfortable with that. So yeah, let's go ahead and get the lariat rope off of her. Yep, just take your time, no rush. Because we want to try to keep her kind of this side of getting too bothered. So you're just gonna feed it out rather than going over her head. Probably a wise move. What would be some things that you would normally do with her?
Typically, I would just stand here.
You do some standing and petting?
Just be calm, kind of get on.
Yep.
Lower myself because I've had so many experiences with her.
So it can be easy for you to get a little nervous being in there and have your heart rate come up.
Right, so I make sure even before I come from the walk to the house, I'm starting to.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point to make. It's like I always tell people, like you gotta be present with the horse when you walk into the pen with them. Like it's such an important thing. Like whatever other stresses of life are going on, when you step in there, it's like you gotta try to be in as good a place. And like this is fantastic for her to see. We're just standing here talking, but she's letting down with you right in there next to her. And this is a really great example. Like when I interviewed you, you talked about you were concerned that you had kind of scared her and lost her trust. Right. But we have to realize that as we're like taking a wild animal, especially I think you said she's 10 years old now. So she was wild for 6 years, and she's was in holding for 2 years, and now you've had her for a year and a half or so. Like, that's a long time to convince a wild animal to trust people. And so for the fact that you now got the halter and lead rope on her and she's letting down by you, that's a really good sign. Now you can see there, to me, it looked like she was looking for cookies. And because I don't want to have to shush her away from the cookies, for me personally, I wouldn't be using cookies with a horse that's this intense. And I'm just saying this for the people watching, like, some horses, cookies, they respond to cookies very well. So I'm not saying it's not a thing. I'm saying with this particular horse, I probably wouldn't use them for quite a while, because I would really want her to have a little more trust and confidence. Now, did you see her expression there? It changed, and your hand released when it was bad. So like, yep. And so just pick up pattern or a little motion there, or change, take it. Yes, very good. So those are all the little moments that are going to add up to making a difference with this horse. Because you can see she switches so fast, and that's why she was a massive challenge for you for your first one. Like, you know, probably way too much. Like, it's not like it was kind of an unfair situation to put you in with a Mustang Mustangs alone are challenging, but some of them are fairly easy and some are fairly difficult. She's on that high end of pretty difficult. But your timing there is really critical. So it's like, step one is don't do something that's not achievable. So whatever expectations you set, you have to say, it's okay that this bothers her a little bit, but I have to believe it's achievable. And you have to also be mentally flexible to be willing to go, that might be too much. I'm gonna step back from that. So occasionally we run into those boundaries, and that's our feedback to go, okay, that was too much. Maybe I could make this a little simpler. So step one, make it achievable. Step two, never release on a brace. So if she gets kind of bowed up and gets a little brace, you got to just leave it there, or whatever motion or pattern you're doing, leave it there until there's a little mental change. Like, even there, you acknowledge that she got a little bothered by your hand. Instead of you continuing to go, you just backed it off. Those, I'm telling you, those are the little most important moments for her. And see, like there, it was fine, you know. She didn't really get bracy. You know, she kind of looked at something else, but it wasn't like she didn't get bowed up and real defensive about it. Try to touch her and rub her with the stick and string. So this is going to be just an extension of your arm and whatever you're doing with your hand, but I want you at a safe distance from her while you're doing it. And the goal is going to be to figure out what she can handle on her left side, and then we're going to try to reproduce it on the right side. Something that's important, I think, for people to understand, she's bracy way more so on the right side. Now, we could not make a big deal about that and not focus on it too much, but you're gonna have to address it at some point. But I think if you have a horse that has an area of their body, a leg, a foot, their nose, right side or left side, if there's something that they're really holding on to, essentially, like, if we can get her to turn loose to things on her right side, we might make huge gains also on her left side. I don't think Joseph made any mistakes with her. I think it's part of learning, because you have to realize that Mustangs, things are happening at such a high intensity that the chances of them learning bad behaviors is very high. Like, it's just very high for anybody, even somebody who's been doing Mustangs for many, many years. Because it's just very easy to scare them, because there's emotional intensity attached to whatever they're learning in that moment. Okay, so let's see what you can get done with kind of rubbing her with the stick. Now you see there, that bothered her a little bit, but you retreated from that spot. So go to that spot again, not too far, not any further, but wait for her to let down here. Wait for a little change. Right there, take it away. And then point your belly button and eyes away from her to kind of give her a relief. So instead of moving your feet away from her, you're just turning away from her, yeah. And that'll allow her to just let down a little further. So essentially like you're stretching her out a little bit, and then you want to be able, then you want to be able to bring her back in. So go ahead and do that again. But train yourself to be more aware of, like right there's a little bit of brace. So just rub that area and wait for a little change to happen before you push the stick further back. Right there. So when her head went down, you could have taken it away?
Completely?
Possibly. Because what I call this is working with the horse where they're at. So even though a minute ago you had the stick further back on her body, she got defensive just by having it right there. There she got curious about it and it goes away. Perfect. That was really good timing. So that's a little something that you have a little bit of a habit of, like, you're gonna do something and then you're gonna take it away kind of just when you think you've kind of done it long enough. Right. You gotta really read the horse and go, there's the time to take it away. And that's also what really will let her know that you're really connecting with her with it. It'll have a lot of meaning to her, yeah. You know, it's kind of like if you're having a conversation with somebody and they keep bringing up a point about something, and you kind of look at them and you say something in a way that really acknowledges and they feel heard about what you just said, what they just said, then it feels like a really nice conversation. Does that make sense?
It does.
Like you can think of like
repeating back to you that they heard you.
Yeah, and you're just acknowledging, hey, I understood that that's how you felt, and that person will feel heard then, and it just feels like a really satisfying conversation. Compared to just, you know, talking about the weather with somebody, or you say something meaningful to you and then the other person goes, you know, so how about them Cubs? You know, it's like, whoa, like, you know, they just kind of spaced out and ran over what you just said. So you'll build even more rapport and respect with her quicker by doing that. Now see there, you took it away when, yeah, so I would have left it there.
I took it away because she was...
You took it away because she got bothered, and you taught her to get bothered is where the relief is.
I took it away 'cause she looked at it and then she moved.
Oh, I see.
So,
but the way she looked at it had a little bit of a brace, yeah. The other thing I would encourage you to do is you're kind of starting at a different point on her. This is, again, little details, but with a horse this difficult, you have to notice every little thing. You tend to start at a different point each time. Pick a home base. Like there's a spot like about this big, about 5 by 5 on her back. That's home base. And then from there, you always start there and work your way forward, backward, down, you know, from that home base. And then it's like, sometimes what can happen is you branch off from home base, she gets a little more comfortable. Instead of taking it all the way off, just go back to home base. Okay. Like that would be the next level of progress for her. So touch the spot. Is that where you feel like she's probably the most comfortable with it? Yeah. So that's your home base. And then from there, you work your way back on the horse and down on the horse. And that's a pretty common home base, I would say. So like there, she's a little bit curious about it, so you can rub there a bit and then come back to home base. And then branch off a little further and then come back. This is a strategy. There's another strategy, which is to just rub over her, like say it's her hindquarters, you'd rub over her hindquarters and take the stick off before she really has a chance to react to it. And so leaving something on there can be more scary to them than it just touching them and going right back off. So just for demonstration's sake for the people watching, just bring the stick to her hindquarters and rub it and take it off. Yeah. And then do that again, but take it all the way off from the back end. Yes. See how you didn't get any of that bow up right there when you did it that way? Yeah. That is a really great strategy for a horse that always like pulls away or reacts to the stick touching them or something touching them. I use that strategy the most with their legs. I'll start to rub down their leg and I'll take it off their leg before, you know, they get really troubled by it. So let's go ahead and go to the right side of her now. Let's just see where that's at. So now your timing is going to be really critical over here. So stay at home base there. And if she lets down, like you can see she's a little guarded here. Right there, take it away. Because see, the ears changed. She went from focusing on the stick to she just kind of looked off over here a little bit. And then you see how she put you over there? I'd put yourself right back on that side again. Don't let her come into you there. Be careful there. So don't get, you have it like right there, a couple things there, go ahead and stop. She got really defensive there. She was like heading towards the attack mode there from my eyes, what I saw. Couple things I would have you not do again. You got shorter on the rope. I would stay at a distance. I would be working further away and give her more rope. Let her feel like she has room to leave if she feels troubled. The other thing is you had the stick down where she couldn't see it. Horses have minimal vision below them. Their eyes are meant to see out kind of further away, so they have trouble seeing things up close to them. So what the horses will do, maybe you've seen this before, they'll lift their head up and they'll look down like this, and they're trying to see things that are closer range. So you could have a risk of surprising her with you keeping the stick down. So as you were going for her, I would bring the stick out to the side and then towards her as a little bit of a safer way to approach it. Yeah. So even by the feel of giving her as much rope as you've given her now, again, I want her to know, leave it there if you can. And we'll take it away if she softens. So like the way she's like acting with the flies as if all of a sudden the flies got really bad. Right. It's like, yeah, there are some flies, but she's feeling more anxious about being on this right side, and that's what's triggering that reaction more. I'd go ahead and take it away there because it didn't escalate. I would just be happy in that moment that it didn't. That I accomplished it at all. Yeah, you accomplished it at all, yeah. Now again, back to what I was trying to say there about the rope. By you giving her the rope, you're kind of like gonna take on a new mentality with her of like, it's okay to drift away. I really want you to feel okay. I'm not gonna try to close you down and stop you from leaving. Like someday we would, but for a while, I would let her know you can leave and drift away. Not run off. You know, if she goes to run off, I'm gonna stop her with the rope. But if I want her to believe she can drift away if she gets troubled, rather than attack. So like an example of this, of how it relates maybe to other horses or riding, if somebody has a horse that rears up when they feel troubled, it's because they didn't feel like they could go forward and they didn't feel like they had anywhere to go, so they went up. Just go ahead and lift your stick up as you're getting over there. Yeah. That's the other thing I would try to do is I'd be in a pretty good habit of getting to positions with the stick between her and I so that there's a little bit of a block there. I saw that. Yeah. It's also like sometimes when you're in doing something really delicate around their head, whether it's haltering or bridling, or you got a horse that you're trying to clip their ears or do something like that, a lot of times we'll use our forearm to kind of block, you know, as we're trying to use our fingers there just to block our face. Because if their head swings around, it's a lot harder than ours is. And even though this is like super ultra slow, this is where she's at. And the idea would be that if we keep going with this mentality, as we build that language and trust with mutual rapport and respect along the way, things can start to go a little bit quicker someday. I don't know when that someday would be, but it would be a fairly slow process with her. Very nice. All right, well, I'm thinking maybe we turn her loose now, and we just say like, I think, would it be fair to say she's in a better frame of mind right now than when we started?
Absolutely.
You cannot go wrong with leaving your horse in a good frame of mind. So every session I do, regardless of what level of difficulty we're at, my number one goal is leave them in a good frame of mind. And so yes, we could go and do more things, but if we get her all stirred up, we may not have this. But it's like a muscle. The more we strengthen her being in this frame of mind, the more time she'll spend there, right? So I think we got her in this good. This is the best frame of mind I've seen her in, and we're going to take it. We can leave her alone, and we can always come back and do another session. And with difficult horses, I think multiple sessions is a better option than one big, long, drawn out, serious session. You know, it's like I'd rather pepper it in like that. I just think it's overall better for them.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything that you feel like you kind of took away from that session?
Timing, releasing.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so you know about timing. You've trained a lot of horses. You've won the competitions.
Right.
But there's levels to it, right? Refining it, yeah. Just having, you know, especially again with these challenging horses, you know, it's like if you take a really, you know, gentle kids pony, it's like, well, anybody could, you know, train that horse. But you get your hands on a horse like this, it's like you'll really find out, you know, like because they're very difficult. And then these are the horses though that will help you get better timing for all the other ones. You know, because you have to be just right with them. Yeah. And so I've worked with a lot of difficult horses over my career, and they're the ones that I definitely feel like I've learned the most from. That helps me be better for the next horses that are hopefully not as tough.
She's definitely taught me a lot.
Yeah, awesome. Well, keep up the good work with her, and thank you for all the effort you've put into her and staying committed to this horse. And hope you guys enjoyed the video. We'll see you on the next one.